Welcome to the Maturity Project. I am your host, Chad Everbro Shears. If you are returning and you've been a subscriber, or you've seen some of the videos, welcome back. Grateful to have you back. First time watching, the Maturity Project is about 8 different areas of maturity. So it's all of which you have the ability to develop. So this particular education is something that I've been creating as a lifetime's worth of work. Uh, it is something that I am not somebody who's going to join into the complaints about humanity. I'm not going to sit back and join in on complaining and drama and all the rest of that has no interest in solutions, excuse me. I'm not that person. I would rather step out and attempt to create some solutions to the challenges that people face. Now, I won't appeal to everyone, and I'm aware of that. I'm not trying to. I would like this to be a gift for humanity, but where it currently is in its growth and development, you can see it, right? Production value is low. The invested money into this is, it is what it is, right? But willing to step out to look less than good to some people does take something, right? To put yourself out to the, to access for anyone anywhere in the world to have statements about you is not easy. And it does take something to willingly stand in that to say, I just want to see a better future for people. So forgive the production quality, the structure and the script and all of that. I am doing what I can to improve on a daily basis, and it is something that I do work on daily. I work on all 8 areas of maturity on a regular basis. It's a daily basis. I see the world through the lens of this education. So today's conversation is about emotional maturity. Now, this is not the all-encompassing, you know, um, the completely inclusive concept of maturity when it comes to emotions. Not any one of these episodes are going to be that, because every aspect of humanity has so many different oh, dynamic variables that it's impossible to create something like that in a way that specifically speaks into somebody's needs immediately, right? Like, how do you become more wealthy? Well, I don't know where you're coming from. I don't know your abilities to tolerate, risk. I don't know what money you have available to do certain things. I don't know if you can invest. I don't know what your work ethic is. I don't. There's too many things that I don't know to be able to even have a conversation with you like that, as well as my own ability to generate such money. Uh, if I were able to, you obviously would see a different production level, but it's an area of focus for me. This education is actually actively attracting people that are more mature in each one of those areas of maturity that will help us all come together in a way that our community is so strong and so intentional to make a better opportunity for everyone that is a part of it. That you'll see these things changing over time. So bear with me, and I do appreciate your patience. So with that being said, today's emotional maturity, I'm just going to talk about. Again, these things are from my experience, from my schooling, from what I read, what my, I guess you can say, my genetic benefits are. What I've received from my parents on a genetic level, as well as the early conditionings, my birth order being second to youngest. I'm the outcast of the family. My all of my brothers that well, there's one brother that passed away before I was born. He was 3 years old when he passed, unfortunately. He may have had grew up to look a little bit more like me, uh, or me more like him. But other than that, I just favor my father. All my brothers favor my mother, which did create different dynamics in the way that I was treated in the family. You know, having a bigger brother by 4 years definitely did not give me the greatest advantage in fighting, although I had to constantly fight somebody who was bigger, stronger, faster, and more experienced than I was. So that definitely helped me, get better at it. But I'm not going to go around bragging that I'm a great fighter because that's not something that I really want to engage in. No, but I had to develop emotionally and psychologically to help give me the advantages that I needed to at least not constantly be the loser in every altercation in the family. So, all right. So with emotional maturity, I'm going to talk about today setting a narrative in relationships. You know, we all have a narrative in relationships. We have emotions that our emotions are crafted from our archetype that we have, right? Like your parents showed you how to have relationships. If you had both parents and they were in the house and married, then they showed you demonstrating not just what they stated, but also their actions about how relationships are supposed to go. Uh, you learn things, right? My parents stayed together for the kids, so I learned to tolerate my partner. Is one of the early education pieces that I got. Now I will talk more about what you can do when it comes to emotions because you can mature this area as well. It's the fourth area of maturity. So with that, my narrative for women, as I'm heterosexual, I do have a narrative when it comes to women. So how I formulated that narrative and how it affects me to this day. Marriage, my parents showed me that. You know, so I already have degrees of tolerate your partner, not necessarily create the most fulfilling experiences. So I had to overcome that because I became aware of it, and then now I had to work from a baseline of that other thing, and then I had to create something different. And it's an active process. It's growth. It's maturing, and you can do it. You just need to be aware of what your foundation is first. I mean, you don't absolutely have to know that, but I will tell you it makes it a whole lot easier because you know what you're actually working on and what you're working against and what you would default to. So with that, I have three different major events that became significantly impactful that gave me my belief on how women will treat me and how I'll experience women. This is not an episode specifically for dating, but it is for emotional maturity, and this is just one of many aspects of emotional maturity. So now with that, the very first experience that I had that was a narrative setting experience. I had three different experiences that created the narrative. The first one was I, there was a woman that worked at my home as a child. My oldest brother had cerebral palsy, so he was bedridden my entire life. But I say that because he was in a wheelchair prior to me being born, and then he was bedridden very shortly after I was born. So pretty much my entire life he was stuck in a bed at the house. We had nursing assistants 24 hours a day to help because my brother was also on a ventilator, and he required nursing assistance, bathe him, to move him around, things like that. It's a truly tragic condition. So one of the nurses and my father started. They started a relationship. Now, my parents had a stated monogamous relationship prior to that, and I say that because it's there's more going on, right? Like I'm creating a relationship workbook and course to help people create more rewarding relationships so that they can have the more desirable, fulfilling experiences, and that's something to come. But I'm not going to make that video today's video about that. So anyway, my dad started to have this conversation with this woman. Now, they eventually ended up having an affair. Well, prior to knowing, because I didn't know that they were having an affair, I just thought they were at the time. I want to say I was that timeline was between 7 and 10, roughly for me. It's about 3 years. I had a crush on her. My brother Jason actually, interestingly enough, it got to the point 'cause she was kind of a pseudo mother figure at times to us. Not necessarily for me, but to my brothers. Um, they knew I had this big crush on her, and my brother had told me one time after she had been around for a while, we would all go and give her a hug and a kiss before bed. And we just go up, give her a kiss on the lips real quick, and it was kind of whatever, it's nothing crazy, and it's kind of like what a parent would do with the child, kind of thing. And my brother told me, he goes, if you really really like her, this is what you do to show her you like her. And I'm like, okay. Now my brother provoked all this entire thing, this moment. He's like, you stick your tongue out. So you put your tongue in her mouth whenever she kisses you, and that tells her that you really like her. And I'm just this innocent kid. I don't know, maybe 8 years old at the time. I don't remember exactly how old I was then, but it was around that age. And so I'm like, okay. So I just get excited about it. Like, so we go, and Jason gives her a kiss. Craig's behind me, which is my younger brother, and Jason's my older brother, and we're kind of like in order of our birth, right? And then I go up to give her a kiss, and I stick my tongue out, and I put my tongue in her mouth. I couldn't imagine what that's like for an adult. It's disturbing and gross, but she freaked out and yelled and said, "You don't do that, and why did you do that?" and that kind of thing. And I'm just sitting there going, "Because I have a crush on you. Because I like you." I wasn't saying I have a crush on you. That's not the language that usually a young person would use, as much as "I like you," you know, and thinking that it would be reciprocated or whatever. But I didn't know what the hell. I mean, I was just prepubescent. I was just just whatever. So, but I did have this big crush on her. Well, we would go and spend time. My father and my younger brother and I would go out. We'd go on the boat and things like that with this woman. And my mother knew that we all went out on the boat and all of that. She just, she's very old school and really kind of lived in a naive reality. Uh, so she didn't really think that there could be any kind of infidelity. So, but their relationship was something different anyway. They come from a very old school perspective. I mean, they were both born in the 40s. So anyway, and they're both from, southern Indiana. That was very rural, very country. So anyway, I recall one night we were staying the night at her place, and I was in one of her kids' rooms. The kid and her daughter wasn't there at the time, so I was just laying down in the room, looking up the ceiling, trying to fall asleep. And I thought to myself, well, I want to go and lay down in her room, with her and my dad. This is still a kid. I didn't think anything would be going on, And so I go out, and it's like, I think 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, something like that. And I go to open the door, and I realize that the door was locked. But I didn't really make a lot of noise when I tried. And then I'm like, what the heck, And then I hear a very specific noise, a very telling noise that had me go, oh no. My heart sank, kind of broke at that moment. Because I knew what that noise was. And it was a very obvious sound of them, having sex. The breathing, stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my, like, it just really crushed me. And I just sat there for a second, and I'm like, thanks, Jacob Marley. No, it's the wind, not a ghost slamming the door, if you guys heard that. But anyway, so I thought to myself as I'm sitting there, I'm like, no, she doesn't care about me at all. No. So this is the first time that I was hit with enough stress that I actually had a coping mechanism occur. So I went to the kitchen, and there was a toothbrush that I had found in one of the kitchen drawers, and I just went and started scrubbing the tile and the grout, and just cleaning. This is the very first time using this coping mechanism. The second time I did it was actually when my father passed when I was 27, or I'm sorry, 26. So it's not like something I really default to often at all. So I start cleaning all this, and then I'm like, you know what, this is ridiculous. After like cleaning for, I don't know, an hour and a half, something like that, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I decided I was going to write a note to let her and my father both know how the hell I felt about them, because I was so angry. This also was about the same timeline. There was a movie that was released called The Wizard with Fred Savage in it, and he runs away with a skateboard and he goes to California. So here I am thinking, I don't want to be with my family anymore. This broke my heart. I want out of here. And I'm like, screw it. I'm going to run away to California. And here I was in, Homosassa, Florida, and I'm like, all right, well, I'm running away. So I go over to the door. I get a little piece of tape on this piece of paper that states all the stuff that I want to say to both of them. And I place the paper against the door gently. There's the piece of tape. And I take my other hand and then I slap the tape real hard. You know, obviously I just hit the door, right? And then I just walk right out the front door and then I start walking down the street. I'm barefoot, by the way. I didn't even think to grab shoes, stuff like that. And I'm walking down the road and all of this. And my father finally pulls up in his truck and he's like, you know, get in, son. This is ridiculous, blah, 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 whatever. And he finally talks me into getting in the truck. And actually, here's the thing that got me into the truck, by the way. He got me in the truck because he said, you're going to step on something and it's going to give you an infection in your foot. You're going to lose your foot. So there was some conditioning that he used to help leverage, which was, you know, appealing to me being a hypochondriac. So he used that as a, you know, manipulation technique, by the way. No, I love my father dearly, but he made life work his way. So he did have some manipulation value, stuff like that. So I'm not, this is not a video for that. It's just to give you an idea about the first set point. And what I told myself that added to the narrative that I had about women is that they don't care about me. I don't matter to them. So that's the first narrative. Okay. Eventually, that whole thing just, you know, they had their climactic moment as far as how their relationship was dissolved and, you know, all the challenges they went through. But that's not the point of today. Today's conversation is about what I told myself that I started to make meaning for women. So they don't care about me. It's a very impactful decision that I made at that moment. Now, again, I didn't know I did it. So then, fast forward a little bit. There's a girl that I was dating in high school, 16 years old. You know, I absolutely adored her. So, I'm just going to leave it at the girl that I was dating and the 16, whatever. So we'll just use that. I don't really want to use her name. It's actually, she did find one of the videos previously that I did have this conversation and she reached out to me. But not for anything else other than just to kind of, just to say hi. You know, like, all right. But anyway, so I'm 16 years old. This girl is my high school sweetheart. I've got this massive crush on her, but I'm actually dating her. So here I am. I'm not a virgin, but I'm not far from it. You know, I only, like, she was the third person that I'd ever been with, but she had never been with anybody, so I took her virginity. But I had this massive, like, I just really, really liked this girl. She was part of my friend circle, all this, and we had this real interesting kind of romance, but it's a 16-year-old. You don't know crap about relationships or romance, you know? You're just like, you're figuring stuff out. So it's so easy to over-invest yourself in things and make significant meaning of things that really aren't that significant, right? But that doesn't make a difference to the 16-year-old. Right, the 16-year-old me really went through something here. So anyway, so we're dating, and you know, I've got this, like, just really, I can't wait to be around her. And I'm thinking to myself, I think I'm in love with her. You know, we'd been together for a little while, and when I say a little while, oh god, we probably had dated for, I don't remember, it's about a year or something like that, maybe something just short of a year. But I didn't date a lot either. I was the chunky kid. I was the guy, and there's previous episodes where I talk about this, where, you know, I was chunky. I was not athletic. I was not in great shape. I was really nice. I was sweet. I got along with everybody because I like people. I've been this way my entire life. I like people. And I really try to see the best for everybody and to offer as much as I can to help create the best for everybody. But I've learned an important lesson. Don't enable people. That was a hard lesson to learn. Anyway, that comes through this education as well. But anyway, so I just like people. So, so I've got a nice group of friends, all of this, but I'm not the attractive one. So the really attractive girls liked me because I was nice to everybody. And the popular cool guys, the good looking guys, they liked me because I had all the really attractive girls were friends with me. So I seemed to have a lot of friends, but the reality was I didn't really have a lot of friends. The guys, there was a good degree of them that were using me to have access to the girls. And the girls were using me because I was there for them emotionally whenever the popular guys would hurt their feelings or break up with them or whatever, and they needed somebody to talk to. So I was stuck in the middle, but I wasn't ever really given the opportunity to date much. So I had a lot of conversations of hopefulness and all of that, but really it never turned into anything. So whenever I dated this girl, was my high school sweetheart. It was a rarity. I didn't have a lot of girlfriends. I had a lot of want, just didn't have any real girlfriends. So, so we're dating, and I recall, we skip school together at times. We'd go over to friends' houses and stuff. We'd go make out. We'd whatever, and just hang out. We just seemed to really get along well, and we got along with all of our friends, all this stuff. So, the moment that I made another decision about women was we were in a movie theater parking lot, and it used to be the Brooksville Twin, which is the Brooksville Twin is just there's two theaters there that show two movies at a time. That was it. And so we're in the parking lot there. That's where pretty much all the kids hung out after school. And I'm sitting there with her. We're cross-legged, sitting on the asphalt. Her brother, who's also friends of mine, I think he was a year and a half or 2 years older than her, but we're friends as well. He's there, and then several other of our friends, and they're all over, like hanging out, smoking cigarettes and all of that, because that's what cool kids did, right? And her and I are sitting there face to face. Our legs are interlocked, and we're sitting kind of like cross-legged. And she goes, "Chad, I want to tell you something." And I said, "Oh, this is it. She's going to tell me she loves me. I know it. I can tell. I can see it on her face. She loves me. I'm ready. I want to tell her that I love her too. Right? But I'm not going to say it first. But I'm going to say it as soon as she tells me." So I'm like, "Okay, she loves me. This is it. She's going to tell me." She goes, "I really want to say something to you, and this is really important. So I want you to hear me." I'm like, "Okay." And she goes, "So every time we've been together," and I'm thinking, every time we've been together, she's felt it. She's felt the connection, right? She says, "Every time we've been together, we've had sex together, I've thought about your two best friends." And I'm like, "I'm sorry? What?" It was like hitting a brick wall. I'm like, "Are you kidding me? What did you just say?" My two best friends that I was already kind of jealous of, because the attractive girls that I liked throughout this entire time of me knowing everybody, they'd like them too. And my high school sweetheart, the girl that, I was ready to really make a serious commitment with, has been thinking about them every time we were together. And like, no, this can't be. And I looked down and away. Again, we're interlocked facing each other. And I looked down and away, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, there's no way. I'm trying to process this. And then I feel her fingers, her index finger and her thumb, grab my chin and pull my head back up. And I'm kind of pulling away because I'm starting to cry, and I'm leaking out of every freaking, drooling, nose, eyes. If my ears could leak, they would have leaked, right? Because of the emotion, right? So I'm sitting here and like it's starting to well up and it's coming, and I'm like, I'm embarrassed of that, and I'm also embarrassed of like I'm confused, I'm conflicted, I don't know what's really going on here at this moment. And then I feel that pull up, and I pull down again, and then she pulls my face back up, and then I go, "What are you doing?" And she says to me, "I just want to watch you cry." And at that moment, I'm like, no. Like, women will destroy me. This is evil. They will destroy me. Like, I already don't think I matter from my previous experience. And now they'll destroy me? Like, this is insane. And I pull away. And she pulls my face up again. And I'm like, "Stop. Just stop." And then her brother walks over and says, "What the hell is going on over here?" And he tries asking me, and I can't speak. I'm so emotional. And she's like, we're okay. Just go away." And I'm like, he's like, "Well, you're not okay. Chad, why are you crying? What's going on?" And I'm like, "She just told me every time that we've had sex, she's thought about my two best friends." And he goes, "What the hell is wrong with you? How could you do that to him?" And she's like, "I don't know." Now, I understand. She comes from a very religious and very strict family. She never felt degrees of control, and she finally had an opportunity for control, and it happened to be that it was through that method, and I'm not apologizing for her. This was detrimental to me at that time, and still, I have to work with this information now at this stage of my life as well. It's still built into the foundation of what I do as an existence. So I'm sitting there like, and I'm just destroyed. Obviously, we broke up, right? And it took a lot to get over her because I didn't know anything else. I mean, she is a very rare experience of having a girlfriend. It was early stages and very few girlfriends prior to her, and I really felt like was connected. Obviously, I wasn't as connected as I thought I was. Heartbroken. So it's the second heartbreak that I really went through. So I told myself that women will destroy me. Not only do I not matter, but now they'll destroy me. So you fast forward and you get into whenever I was in my I was actually 20 when I started dating this particular girl. And, with her, everything was great for the first year. It was really great. It was a lot of fun. We moved in together. We just had a lot of fun together for the first year. Um, she had two kids, and it was the first experience living with a woman with kids and all of this stuff. So, anyway, after the first year, it was pretty much like 1 year to the day, damn near. Next thing I know, it's like she's asking me where I'm at, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and she starts really demanding to know where I am, what I'm doing. Even if I walked out to go get the mail, she'd be like, "What were you doing?" You know, and I'm like, okay. It got so bad in that relationship that, as far as the control goes, it got so bad that she was in the position of saying, like, if I had to work overtime or they'd ask me to work overtime, I'd have to call her to ask if it was okay to work overtime. And not only that, if I wanted to see my parents, she would use my father against me and say, "Your dad's always lied to you. He's a manipulator. He's a liar. He's just going to do it to you again." And like, I just want to go say hi to my family. And she would guilt me into not going. So I'd have to lie to her to go see my family. It got really bad. It was incredibly controlling. It was like work. It was like living with somebody that was, a warden to a prison. And I was on probation, and I was one of the worst prisoners, kind of like attention level and wanting to know everything that I was doing. I was very, very, very tough, very strenuous and stressful. I was with her for 3 years. I actually left her on Martin Luther King Day, of all days. Anyway, so when I finally did, I just ended up leaving her. But what I told myself in that relationship, it's not like a moment where something crazy happened. That was multiple years worth of, really being under really, really strict attention. You know, so I told myself with that, in the narrative of women, they'll control you. So I'm dealing with, they don't care about you, they'll destroy you, and they'll control you. As far as the emotional ground level foundation for my relationships with women moving forward, if you can imagine, we all have 2 or 3 different occurrences that give us the narrative that we live with. They're not always so detrimental, and some of them are far worse than mine, and then some of them are not as bad. And this is not about who has it worse or who has it better. It's just clarity about these things happen, and they run in the background. That's what narratives are. Something running in the background is a story that you tell yourself about yourself and about the nature of life and, specific characters, people, intimate relationships, stuff like that. So anyway, this is, going into my 20s. What it ended up doing is, with the relationships that I actually put investments in to create something serious, I worked with those narratives without realizing it. And there was this suspicion that it's either they're going to control me, they're not going to give a damn about me, or they will just destroy me. And just waiting for that shoe to drop going into these different relationships. Now, I'd have fun, we'd do whatever, normal relationships, all that. Whenever it got real serious or really got to the level of commitment values, I would live in that kind of concern. But I didn't know I was living in that concern. It's in the background. It's not on the forefront. Because those things aren't fresh. You think you've gotten over them. I didn't, and most of us don't, because you have to work on them in order to create a mechanism to overcome it when you're dealing with it. And even that, there's really deep, insightful approaches to be able to try to actually unwrite those stories. So I'm not a therapist. I'm not telling people I'm a therapist. That's not what I'm doing with this. This is the maturity projects to help people understand you can work on this stuff. Then go find people that can help you work on it. You're not stuck in this stuff. You can do something with it. So anyway, that's what the maturity project's about. So here I am going through these different relationships. I've been cheated on multiple times, and unfortunately, I've also cheated. So I'm not saying I'm a saint. I'm not coming from that place. I have done some things that I will never do again. I have made mistakes that I won't ever make again. I was selfish, and I have no desire to be that level of selfish again. Two different scenarios and situations. You learn for what you grow through what you go through. That's what we do here with the Maturity Project. So going through all of this, it took something. It was in my later 20s when I finally realized I lived with those narratives, and since then I've been working on them. But when it comes to emotional maturity, that was already in the foundation, and I didn't choose those things necessarily. It's what made the most sense to me at the time, and then that got kind of codified into my beliefs of relationships. So when it comes to emotional maturity and emotions, this is something that so many people believe that you can't do anything with it. You're going to be cursed with the way you experience the world emotionally, or it's just something you'll have a flare up in these emotional issues and then it'll just go away. It will cultivate your behavior over time. For me, I created a lot of less than deep relationships over time because of having every time my emotions would get involved in something, it seems like the relationship would fail. So it's taken a lot of work to overcome that because of my belief system and then the way that I did relationships. I had a myriad of a lot of dating casually relationships and very few in-depth emotional relationships, something of real deep emotional entanglement. So I am not out to make anybody wrong. I'm responsible to me. This is who owns these lessons. That's, nobody else has taken that. That's the way that I look at it. Now, emotions, very commonly, you can't do anything with emotions until they're active. It's a lot like riding a bicycle. I've said this many times on this channel, and I'll say it again in this episode. It's a lot like riding a bicycle. You can sit around and hypothesize all day long as you want, as much as you want, what it's like to ride a bicycle. Until you do it, it means nothing. You can sit there and you can write a thesis on it. You can do a doctorate's uh, uh, program on riding a bicycle and what it's like, and the functions of physics with the bicycle, and the mechanism in the body when it comes to actually what our balancing mechanisms are, the gyros, if you will, that help us balance out. That's not actually a term. It's just a little goofy with it. But you can do all of that until you touch a bike, until you try to ride it. Once you try to ride the bike, then you get the real experience of emotions. The thing that you do with it is that you create the conscious understandings of what you can do when the emotions grip you. And then you can resort to them as the emotional excitation starts to level off enough that you have logical processes that can pull away enough of the way your system works, the way your cognitive functions work, so that you get out of the emotional body enough that you can use the logical body to overcome that, so that you can reposition yourself. That's where you can be incredibly angry and screaming at the top of your lungs and throwing stuff or whatever it is. Not saying that I do that, but just saying that people get to that point of emotional excitation where you're not worried about the consequences. You're just really gripped by the upset. And then all of a sudden it snaps and you're like, I'm really sorry. It just occurred to me that there's a lot more that I need to know, or that I was overreacting, or whatever. That's when logic gets the hand over the emotional body. The good thing about it is you look at what you have been through, and then you can start creating a process for dealing with that emotional excitation. Then you're just going to figure out how to manage the emotional excitation enough that you can let logic get its place, so that you can return yourself back to some place that's more appropriate to deal with these challenges. But then again, to say appropriate to deal with them is not necessarily to say it's inappropriate to deal with it emotionally, because it's emotions there and it's a natural process that we have. We're human beings and we're a product of nature as well. We have emotional excitation for a reason. It's not like it's a curse. There's a purpose on an evolutionary scale. That's why we react the way we do for specific things. The goal is to evolve that. In your lifetime, we just refer to that as maturing. But in the greater scheme of things, it's evolution. It's evolving the process. But you're maturing the process as well. It's kind of, which one makes more sense? They're both pretty much the same in this context. So now, if you want to make a difference, you have to have those logical processes in order to fill in when that emotion gets you. So as far as that goes, I'm not telling you that acting out in violence is a good thing. I'm not saying that at all. I am one that I would rather talk my way out of a situation than to resort to fighting somebody. As I mentioned when I started the video, I am equipped to fight because I'm second youngest out of 6 boys, and I've done martial arts conditioning. By the way, huge benefit. Just find a really good dojo with a great sensei and a good discipline that matches personality types, and you will find that it creates a wonderful discipline for whoever goes as far as their students are concerned. It's not to worry that they're actually going to lose sight of what's right, because now they can become bullies. That's not something to overly concern yourself with. It's a sensei's job to prevent that. That's why you need to do your job to find the right sensei. Anyway, I'm not doing a commercial for martial arts right now. I'm saying that I have that in my abilities. I don't want to go there. And I'm not saying I'm a badass. I'm not going to the octagon. Those guys would kill me. Mine's just self-defense reasons. Preference. And I'd rather talk my way out of a situation than to resort to violence if best possible. But I'm prepared if I have to get to that. I just don't want to, because I will feel horrible for hurting anybody or for failing to protect people. And why get to that if you can talk your way out of it? Preference. Diffuse, not to engage. So, anyway, all right. So with that, you have so much of an ability to overcome things. Now, I've got a lot more when it comes to emotional maturity, but as far as this video is concerned, I wanted to lay some foundation for this, because it's like I've heard what gives you the right to speak. Well, I have my life, I have my studies, I read often, and I engage with people in a way that their conversations land for me, because I want to know. I'm very curious, and I care about people. I care about their experiences, and I want to be able to connect with what they've gone through so I can better learn from them, because I want to net benefit all of humanity in the process. That's my thing. I really want to make a difference. But I'm not trying to make a difference because I want you to buy me a Lambo. I want to make a difference because, my son's coming up in this world. I want to make a difference because I care when people are suffering. And there's a great degree of suffering that's our own fault. And if we can make a difference in that, that's what I am actually positioned for. That's what I'm doing, trying to make a difference. And it's putting yourself out there like this. For me, it's not going to make me look good that I think women they don't give a damn about me, that they'll destroy me, or they'll control me, or all three. I don't give a damn that I obviously don't want to look bad, but at the same time, it's like, look, if this understanding makes a difference for you, I'm willing to put myself out there to look bad so that we can potentially create something great. Because, look, if you didn't know this, Tony Robbins does not have a degree. If you're familiar with him, great. The man is supposedly worth over $600 million. I'm only using that because if you quantify that as the people that believe in him, then he's made a difference in life. And I would definitely tell you, because I appreciate that he exists, and I have looked into his education, and I've studied some of his material. I'm grateful that he's here, because he is making a difference, and he is his own brand. I'm my own brand. I am not at $600 million by any means. Any stretch of the imagination. My goal is to try to make the same kind of impact on people's lives as he has, and then let the money follow however the money follows. I will not look good every step of the way in this program. I'm not going to. I have done some really shitty things. I have done some things that I am not proud of, but I will admit to. And then I have been the recipient of things that I'm not proud that I have received from other people's behaviors. But I'm still going to share it. because if it gets you someplace else, if it gets you out of the corner that you feel painted into, your life will start unlocking new opportunities. I want that difference for you because I want that difference for me. And I want the difference for all of us. The cavalry ain't coming. We're it. So we need to do something about that. So just consider whenever it comes to emotions. We are conditioned. One side says it's okay to cry about everything and it's okay to feel emotional about everything. And another side says, shut up, lock it down. No, it isn't, right? You have stoicism on one side, which has a great degree of virtues, by the way. Most people don't understand what the frickin' hell the stoicism is. And then you have people that are overly, like, I'm an empath, right? Well, I'm not saying that people aren't empaths, but I am saying that some people hide behind that because they don't want to grow up or they don't want to develop those emotions into something more mature. I'm not saying that's the case for everybody either. I'm not speaking or all inclusively. I'm speaking, in a generalities here. So your freedom and emotions will come by the way of your expression as well as your exploration of those emotions. Do keep in mind, people that are unwilling to work on themselves or that live in a paradigm that their emotions are set and that's how they're going to be, are going to want you to not express yourself. That's the way that it works. I'm not saying new age movement, dye your hair whatever ridiculous color, and then cry about all the social injustices. But you got so much shit you need to do in your life, but yet you're misplacing what you need to do in your life because somebody else told you there's a cause outside of you. You need to work on you. Put your efforts on yourself. Do you first. If your room's a mess, your house is a mess, don't go around telling everybody else how to have a clean life. I'm going to tell you, my room, by the way, I do make my bed every single day. I do things that are necessary in order to keep me in a position where my house is in order enough that I can speak. But my house can find better order, and it is not lost upon me to put effort into that. But I am not in neglect of it and then feeling like the whole world needs to listen to me. That's not the way this is for me at all. I am working on everything, and I'm sharing the process of that work. I read every day. I read multiple things, and I want to see the solution to the challenges we're dealing with. That's what this whole thing is about. Create a solution to the challenges. You're not painted into a corner. You just don't know your options because you're blinded to those options. There's always going to be other options. It's just you don't know them. And that's what I'm out to help create insights. I'm not giving advice, by the way. I want to make sure that's very freaking clear because that is a point of contention for me. I do not give advice. I will not give advice at all. Unless you're a client of mine, I'm not giving you advice. I will give you insights. I will explore curiously with you about what you're going through. I'll ask you questions on things, but I'm not going to give you advice. Insights only. Advice requires way too much resource for me to be able to speak about it. I don't know anything about what you actually have as a resource value. I don't know your attention. I do not know your attachment to the outcome. I don't know what resources you bring to it. Are you a worker? Do you have the knowledge in these areas? What the hell is it you want to accomplish? There's too much that I don't know. And it would take me so much time to understand it, to give advice. I don't do it. I won't. You're a client of mine, you'll get advice. That's it. I'm not doing it otherwise. But I will give insights. I'll tell you stories about my life, things like that. I'll tell you things that, it's directed in such a way, but I'm not giving advice. I just want to give you something to help work your way through certain things. Insights, you come to your own conclusions. So, all right. Now, really, now that you understand the narrative that I have said, if you'd like to share narratives that you have, which is very exposing, not a lot of people are going to want to do that. Be brave, put yourself out into the community, put it in the comment section. If you can identify the narratives, the events that created the narrative that you work with. Mine is, again, the 3 narratives about women. They don't care about me, or she won't care about me, is how it really translates. She won't care about me, she'll destroy me, or she'll control me, or all of the above. So that's it when it comes to that. That's the fear narrative that I have when I deal in relationships. Now, I have evolved this, and I've made it that it's no longer something that runs the show, but it is something that I have to have active presence on because it's waiting. It will eventually get me if I'm not vigilant. And whenever it does get me, I recognize it, apologize, and I work my way through it. It's a process. So, with that being said, uh, this is share this video with the people in your life that you want to make a meaningful difference with. Uh, do like I'm doing. Just put it out there. If you want to change your life, get other people involved in a way that they don't hold you back as you make those changes. A lot of times, just get them to understand you're working on yourself. Put it out there. If you know somebody that could really benefit from this, share this video with them. Start a conversation with them about it. Work your way through it with them. Now, along the way, keep in mind, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. The thing is that we don't need to create a path to hell anymore. We can redirect that from a dystopia to a utopia. Now, that utopia takes work, and it's individualized. It's another reason why we can't seem to create it. You can create it for yourself. With that, we can start laying the bricks that'll take us there. But we got to work on it. So you need to make the decisions and be vigilant for it. Now, this is the Maturity Project. I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, and I want to thank you for being a part of this. If this is the first time you've been to the channel, subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed, join the community. Now, it is a young channel in the sense of how many people are involved in it. It's been around for a while. I just hadn't been actively trying to grow it in the way that I am now, because I just want to expand. And the more people that get involved, the more people that can share, the more that we can come up with a really effective way of dealing with things. And you don't know. You very well may have that area of maturity that I'm looking for, that this education needs. If you feel that you do, or you want to be on the show with me, send me an email at yourmaturityproject@gmail.com. That's YOUR maturityproject@gmail.com, and we can start that conversation to see how we can set something up. I will honor those that come to this with a greater degree of maturity and figure out how we can get that put into such a system that we can make it teachable. Okay. Again, this is still its earlier process. There's a lot to learn. My production values are low. I am not the most gifted in this process. I am incredibly curious. It is a key to my success when it comes to what people call me intelligent for. It's curiosity mainly. And I care that I make a difference. And I encourage you to join me in this. So, all right. Until next time, let's get up to something. Let's get up to it together. We together can make a difference, and we will. All right. Put a comment in the comment section. Let the community know you're here. You're out and about. We're at, as of right now, I believe 107 subscribers. We grew quite a bit in the last less than last week. So let's keep it going. Invite some people to it. Let's join in. Let's really make a community out of this. This isn't just mine. This is all of ours. So, all right. Till next time. Let's get up to something. Let's get up to it together. Let's go.